Yeah. So, innovations in IT and in business and IT. Yeah, we're continuing from the our lesson, and yeah, as I said, we'll have some practical sessions. Also, I'll give some practical tasks about the course. Yeah. All right. So, for today's lesson, we are looking at another important aspect because I know, not everybody is from the same background. Some of you are from technical background. Some of you are from business background. Some of you are from like management background, and everybody has to have some knowledge about IT because at the end of the day, you are supposed to pick some interest or focus, like area of focus or interest. So it would be a good idea to understand generally, to have a general understanding about all the modern technologies and what is happening and what are the innovations and how they can help business. So for today's lesson, we are going to look at some of the relevant modern technologies. So we are looking at the topic of decision support systems. And first of all, one of the first concepts we are looking at today. And I have some Russian information on the slide, so it will help you. And please, okay, anyway, I'm going to do a screenshot here. All right, so I don't forget. Okay. All right, so when we say decision support systems, well, I'll show them some information in Russian also. So, yeah, decision support system. Basically, the goal of these technologies is to help in supporting decisions by managers, by team leaders, by executives of companies. And these are very, very relevant systems or information systems today. Now, the goal of these decision support systems is to offer what we call insight or offer some uh, information or relevant knowledge for managers so that they can be able to make some diagnosis or probably to prevent some actions in the future, maybe based on some historical fact, they can make some positive solutions. Yeah. All right. So the outcomes of those actions can actually be important for the future of the business. And when we talk about the decision support systems, we can say a basic component is that there must be input. And input can be data, it can be resources, data set, databases, all those things come together. There's also processing component. The processing component is where we have the logic, the code, and all the algorithms. And then we have the output component. The output component usually is like the visualization or the dashboards or these or reports. This information comes back as feedback and can be used in improving decision making for the company. All right. So when I say decision support systems, I'm basically talking about this concept. Yeah, that's systems that support decision making, and there are five different categories of decision support systems, which just to give you a little overview of them. The first one is model driven. Um, the second one is data driven decision support systems. The third one is communication driven. The fourth type is document driven. And then the fifth one is knowledge driven. Now, actually today with modern technology, it's difficult to see them individual because now we can see all of them in one system. It's possible to have one system which has all these components in one. Yeah, because especially with cloud services or with online services, it's possible to have all these components in one system. So you don't need to have a specialized system for different tasks, but or you can have a specialized system and integrate them using APIs to connect all these individual systems together. All right. Now, a little overview of the architecture and design of such uh, systems, that's systems for supporting decision making. one of the most important aspects we should understand is that there are some components that are important in building such systems. That is the quality of the system, the organization, the specific organization that the system is going to be built for, then some of the constraints or conditions that exist, and then the kind of model that is required in making decisions or the models required or it could be even the business model of that condition, that organization. Also, a few components we should take note of is that every decision-making system like this has an interface, and the interface is for communicating between the users and then the system. And we also have the modeling aspect, or where the model or the algorithm works in the background. And we have the data collection component, and sometimes the data collection component could be automated. It does not have to be manual, but it could be connected to maybe an SQL data set or Postgre database or Oracle database somewhere. And then we have the data analysis or data mining component of the decision-making system. So just to talk about these 5 decision-making system, or 5 categories of decision-making systems. The first one is a data-driven decision-making system, and it makes sense. The goal is to have these are systems that produce business intelligence, and a good example can be Power BI. Quite a simple one. It's these are for also you can give an example of such a system that basically it helps in manipulating big data or large sources of data, and from there it's able to help in analysis and visualization, mostly visualization of presenting the results. We have Power BI, and we have Tableau. I could give examples of Tableau. Sorry, Tableau. Yeah, another interesting tool. Yeah, it's also a business intelligence software. It's like Power BI, kind of similar interface. Yeah, and then there is I think in Russia you have DataLens, which we could say it's one of the other. It's a Russian service actually. Yeah, and it's free. Yeah, you have to log in. I haven't think of logged in. I'm sure some of you might have used this. Anyway, yeah. Well, I have to verify my account. I'm not ready to do that now. So, but generally, these tools give us a nice interface. Okay, I think I can log in. Just let me log in. Okay, all right. Let me log in and then authenticate my account. All right. Yeah. So Yandex DataLens, an interesting platform. Actually, it's right here in Russia. I don't know if some of you have an idea about it, or some of you have never used it before, but it's one of the interesting platforms. And please, if you have any question, you can ask in the chat here right away. So if you have a question or you have a comment, you can just write in the chat. All right. So get back to this. I was giving you an overview of So it's an interesting place where you, for example, I could just deploy just a demo version. I don't have Yandex Metrica, but you should be able to have a dashboard where you can see, have an overview of what is happening within, let's say, your app that you've deployed online and all of that here. It's a really nice tool. I mean, Google has a similar platform, but this is Yandex DataLens, and it's free. We can put it in the category of a data-driven decision support system, because it gives all the necessary information. It works with data, it gives us the information for us to make some real-time operational support, or for example, you want to understand the demand in the market, maybe, or you want to understand your different clients that are different customers. So how do we use it? Yeah, now, also, model-driven DSS is the second category, and just to go back in Russian, just to give you a model-driven, it's more or less a different kind of decision support system. And with model-driven DSS, it includes systems that use accounting or financial models or representational models or optimization models. So basically, they are, even though they work with data, all right, but then what is in the background is using some model to make some decision, to optimize some process, or to understand your data. So you can basically, it's based on some kind of optimization model in the background that is working. And they also use statistical and analytics. Yeah, that's one of the important parts. And then generally, we can say that model-driven decision support systems, they use data-driven components also. So there's like a hybrid. It's a hybrid of data-driven and model. So it's not they work with data, but then they also use models to be able to give some results. Yeah, they work with some models, optimization models, for example, or financial models. Let's say econometric models, for example. Yeah, a good example would be a system that works with econometric models for forecasting or for analysis purposes. Then the third type is the knowledge-driven DSS. And just to go back to the Russian ones here. So knowledge-driven, we'll say it's mostly based on knowledge. And let me go back here to the slide. All right. So these systems suggest or they recommend actions to managers. They are sometimes called like expert systems or consultation systems or recommendation systems or suggestion systems. They provide specialized problem-solving expertise for a particular domain. It could be maybe like medical, in the medical sphere. Let's say like for doctors or for nurses, medsister, like in any of these experts here, based on some information or based on some data mining results, it can actually extract information and give some recommendations of some strategies or actions to take here. So this knowledge driven. Now you notice that all the tools, all the kinds of categories I'm mentioning. Now today it's difficult to separate all of them because today we can see all these different categories in one type of system. Yeah. Then we have the document-driven data support, decision support systems. Yeah. Now this is a different. For this one, we can say the main component is for processing and storing data for document retrieval and analysis. A good example is I don't know if you know about optical character recognition, OCR. Yeah. Let me just type this OCR. Yeah. So for example, we have tools that do things like optical character recognition. You load maybe a check, or like documents, and then these systems are able to store this or retrieve the necessary information and store it in that. So it's not just your simple Google Disk or Yandex Disk or Google Drive. No, it's a system that does not just store data in documents, but also retrieves the information and makes it easy to search for information in those documents. Yeah, because for example, you scan a document in a PDF. When you scan this document in a PDF, how do we access it if we have to search for information? Maybe find some report from some years ago. Yeah. So these document-driven decision support systems, they usually use search engine capabilities here, and they store information, and they also use what I mentioned as optical character recognition. These are some simple computer vision algorithms that exist today, and you can just read a bit about this concept of OCR, optical character recognition. I think even now today it's quite easy. It's quite easier today than some years ago. Yeah, thanks to machine learning models that work in the background. Then the fifth one is communication-driven and group DSS. This is this kind of decision support system actually has the component of communication and collaboration, which is to help workers or to help people working on a shared task. And uh, a good example, I mean, we have some systems like that where you can on a team. For example, Microsoft Teams is an interesting example of that here, because on Microsoft Teams, it's not just for uh, like having meetings, but then you can actually have a team, and then you can have documents shared. You can have tasks shared on it. You can create like plans and all of that, and you can also communicate. Slack is also a good example of such a tool. If you don't know about Slack is interesting platform um, that does that. I think we can even say Discord. Maybe I can put Discord in this category a bit here. It might be in this category of the communication aspect here, because it's not just Discord is not just for creating a chat, but then you can realize that you can integrate different functionalities into Discord for teamwork and for supporting decision making. All right. Okay. If anybody has a question. Yeah. Yeah. Also, please, can you put a plus in the chat so that I know? Yeah, I know. Just put a plus in the chat so that I know that, yeah, you are in class. Yeah. All right. I just want to make sure. Yeah. Now, so apart from decision support system, we also have the component of intelligent decision support system, which means that they are not just for supporting decision making, but then they are like omni or intelligent. Yeah, the intelligent component. So they're able to have some algorithms in the background that are able to help experts. Yeah. So we have different types of intelligent decision support systems, and I'm going to give some case studies. One case study or one interesting case study is or use case is the one software that I know a colleague. I have some colleagues in University of Oslo in Norway or Norway, and they work on this project. So it's this district health information system, basically like for maybe rayon or in maybe small like locations. For example, remote locations, somewhere like maybe somewhere far away, like Yakutia, where it's quite far. Of course, Yakutia is a big place, but then maybe in a small part of or a very remote location in Russia where it might be difficult to have a big hospital or a big clinic. You can have smaller or mobile clinics. And how do you keep record of what is happening in these places? So some researchers decided to build a tool which is called a district health information system. It's a kind of a decision support system, and this is an interface, but there's an updated version of the interface. So it keeps record of like maybe a district and then what is happening maybe in terms of maybe vaccination or immunization and medical help and all of those kind of things here, like maybe women health, children healthcare and stuff like that. So it's actually an open source and it's a free open source tool. Yeah, DHIS2. That is the software's name. Yeah, DHIS2. Yeah, so just to give you a little overview. Yeah, it's like this, and I mean you can download it and set it up. Yeah, for let's say you and I think that they also have their GitHub. They have the mobile version and stuff like that. Yeah, so you can download it, set it up, and then just try to understand it more how it works. It's an very interesting tool. Yeah, I think there's a demo of it, but yeah, let me see the demo. Okay, admin district. So this is one of the this is for medical context. Yeah, I have to log in, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, so basically this is the system. It's an example of the system, and it's for one country in world. This is like demo data. It's demo, so like West Africa and Sierra Leone, and these are some of the the information you get in. So basically, when we talk about these kind of systems, we are saying they are mostly systems that give you a dashboard. And as a manager or as a like a I don't know how you say it, like the boss of the hospital or the boss of the district, you're able to have a good picture, a good idea of the state of the district when it comes to healthcare, and you can make some decisions and understand what is happening based on some reports and stuff like that. So that is the whole idea behind this example of a decision support system. Yeah. So district by district or region by region, something like that. You get a good picture of what is happening. How many doses of, let's say, like COVID-19 or vaccines that have been given, and what you need to do, what actions you need to take. How much with this information, it can help you to even budget for the district. Yeah. So this is an example of a system that does the job here of decision support system. So this information the dashboard gives you, it helps you to make decisions. And this is the healthcare scenario. So you can have also the same thing inside of like Fabrica, like for manufacturing. Yeah, there are similar systems. Yeah, I think I'll give an example. If you know Elma, I don't know if you guys do Elma. So Elma is an interesting one also, but it's okay. Maybe I'll say it's more of like a business process management system. But one of the key components of a decision support system is the low code. There's little to no coding. You don't have to do any programming. It's mostly drag and drop and selecting of components. The same thing here, for example, with the Yandex Data Lens. It's the same thing. There's less coding because this kind of systems are supposed to be easy to use. So you don't need any programming inside of the system. You just have to load data. You have to maybe make some customization. And it's low coding, meaning that there might be some little coding, but for most workers, they don't need to know how to program. They just need to understand how to use the system. Yeah, so Elma is one of those systems also, which is popular in Russia, yeah, for example. And I think maybe you might somebody might teach you Elma, Shakrio. I don't know, one of the teachers, maybe this semester or next semester, I believe, yeah. Which Shakrio, yeah, he will teach you Elma, and it's an interesting tool. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has any experience with using this product. Yeah, it's an interesting product that came from Russia. Yeah, it's used by a lot of companies, and it has all the necessary features you need to use. Yeah, so you can see the low code feature. Just drag and drop the components you need. It's used for business process management, also used for decision support. Yeah. All right. Another example in the healthcare sector is clinical decision support. Yes, similar to what I mentioned here, and these kind of systems. The goal is in healthcare to be able to help in diagnosis and then treatment, and then also to help in HR, even in HR related um, context, as well as for supporting maybe inventory or I don't know how you say inventory in Russian, but like sklad in the warehouse, how many medicines are available at the moment, what you need to do, how many do we need to buy, how much budget can you do, also for resources like allocation of resources here. So these decision support systems, basically that is their goal. And not only in healthcare, but also even in agriculture. We can have in agriculture, in farming, in animal farming, or in plant farm. Yeah, we can have these systems. All right. Now, another interesting aspect of modern technologies is, and even a component of decision support systems, is robotic process automation and RPA. I don't know if anybody has heard about this before. Anybody has some experience using RPAs? Yeah. So RPAs, first of all, RPAs are not AI, but then today we can merge the two together. Yeah. So the first thing you should take note of the RPA, or robotic process automation, or in Russian. Well, I don't know the Russian name for that, but basically it's like they're bots. Maybe you can just use the word bot. Yeah, these are just bots. Yeah, so we can build bots and integrate them into the business workflow for any context. Yeah, and robotic process automation. These are software technologies that make it easy to build, deploy, and manage software robots that can behave like humans or do some human actions with digital systems and software. So RPA is not AI, and AI is not RPA. But when we combine RPA and AI, we're able to unlock some massive potential or possibilities for any company or any firm everywhere. So RPA technology makes it possible to give some advanced AI skills in the form of machine learning models, natural language processing, character recognition, or OCR, for example, into and more into robots. So basically, we can put some capabilities in these bots, not just a simple bot for um, like Telegram bot. Yeah, we can even have like a bot, the Telegram bot, but then it does some automation and it's able to send some messages and stuff like that. An interesting example. Now the goal is to reduce operational risk. Usually when you use RPAs, you want to reduce some risk in operation and also to make the work smoothly, the process faster. So these are examples of RPAs. One of the popular one is called UiPath. If anybody has heard or used about it before, I don't know, you can write in the comments. Anybody with any experience in UiPath, interesting software. Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, WorkFusion. These are some examples. And generally, these RPAs, they can be programmed. You can program your own RPA, and you can connect it to some APIs to make some actions for you or take some actions. A good example is in emails or in sales. When it comes to sales, for example, sales or CRM, that is customer relationship management automation, where you have where you have the worker or the employee, and then you have the bot. So the sales manager starts a task, and the employee hands the task over to a queue. So we have like a queue of or orchard. Yeah, that's how you say it in Russian. Yeah. And this queue of tasks will be collected by the bot, and there will be some scanning to check if there's any duplicates or if there's any similar existing proposal coming. Then it pushes it forward back to the employee. The employee checks the result that is generated, and then it goes back to the bot. If everything is okay, it goes back to the bot, and then the bot then would make the decision of making an offer, place an order, or cancel an order, for example. And if it meets some conditions, it will maybe, for example, there might be some exceptions, and exceptions could be like there's some conditions where, for example, a human being has to like the sales manager has to maybe check something, so that can be an exception. So if it's an exception, then the human has to take over the process and make some changes before everything is done. Yeah. Or if there's no exception, then the bot handles that process. So we can there are interesting examples of interesting scenarios. If we look at telecommunication networks like Orange, for example, they use also Wells Fargo, a bank, an American bank also. They use these kind of systems here. I'm sure today companies like Alpha Bank and even Tinkoff are also using some of these similar scenarios. Combined with AI, they are using these two systems too. Robotic process automation. It's, for example, even in email scanning. Let's look at an example of in oil and gas industry, NEFT. That's for example, when it comes to like a vessel or a ship that is coming maybe to take oil from the offshore drilling, yeah, where oil is usually taken, or gas, oil and gas, NEFT is usually taken here. Now these ships can have computers with somebody making management decisions or making requests, and also somebody on on the offshore drill also can be there. So there can be some communication. So when emails are sent, even in a port, a shipping port, like maybe I don't know if you know shipping port, just to give you an idea. Um, Let me just write it down so that I don't a shipping port here. Well, a port like I don't know if it makes sense in Russian, but then we have like a harbor. Sorry, a harbor. Yeah, yeah, shipping harbor. Yeah. So we have like this in harbors usually when a ship is coming or a vessel is coming, usually there'll be lots of communication between them. So we can automate these processes, and then the bot can actually scan the email and then understand the vessel plan and then make some decisions, give a report so that the next steps can be taken to make some actions or to maybe to automatically send them a charge, how much they are going to pay if they come to the port, something like that. Yeah. So these are interesting scenarios here of how we can use robotic process automation. And just to give you an example of the tools, UiPath, I'm going to open. Um, so UiPath, one of these examples. Well, the good thing is that I can recommend you to check it out. Take a look at this platform. It's actually so there is the no, I don't want the trial version. Let's go to um, to test it out. I want to see the pricing. Okay, yeah, explore the platform. Sorry, yeah, and so try for free. Okay, yeah. There is a trial version, there is a free version, and all of that. So you can take a look at it. You have to log in. This is not what I want. You can have an account, sign in. Let me just sign in and see. Yeah. They have um this also you need to have like a studio, the desktop version, and then you with C Sharp or Visual Basic, you'll be able to automate certain components of your business by building bots and then managing different actions here. It is pretty interesting, yeah, and a lot of people have also integrated it with Python. And so, for example, if you have a check from like sales, every sales that's done, pictures of the checks. Maybe you work in a construction company, you can actually use UiPath to automate some of these information extraction. You take a photo of the check, it scans the information and sends it to a different system for you. Yeah, you can integrate with different APIs, different systems altogether. It's quite an interesting thing. Yeah, and even there's the integration with um, like OpenAI and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's one of the interesting aspects in robotic process automation. You can take a look at it here, RPAs, and read a bit more about. So the benefits of RPAs and the logical benefits are the fact that you increase productivity because you can create some automated tasks. So you can focus on high value work, like things that are most important, and then you can leave the easy tasks to the bot to handle. Yeah. Also increase customer experience, improved efficiency, higher process automation. You're able to automate some process, and then you're able to increase the quality of the work that is done actually. Right. So that is RPA, the robotic process automation, very important component in managing or automating uh, components of business. Now, another technology that we are looking at is the semantic web, which is also very important to talk about here. So the web 1.0, which we all know, the very first version of the web, yeah, had people or somebody producing content and then everybody just reading. So everybody was just consuming content. You could And then Web 2.0 came in, where anybody can be a consumer or a producer at the same time. And a good example is how social media, social networks, contact, emails, Yandex, all these systems came on board. So we don't just produce, but then we also are able to consume at the same time. Yeah. So anybody can be a producer or a consumer of content. Then we have what people usually call Web 3.0, which is the semantic web. And with that one, okay, I'll talk about that here. That's what we're going to talk about. So the semantic web is an extension of the current form of the web. It's like an upgrade. And if we all know the creator of the web, the World Wide Web, let me just, yeah, Tim Berners-Lee. Berners-Lee. So this man is the man behind the web. He is the one who created the web. Yeah, World Wide Web we know, not the internet, but in the web. Yeah, he came up with the concept of the web and created the web. Certainly, yeah. Now, he realized one thing about the web. He realized that there was a big problem. He didn't know that the web was going to be chaotic as it is today, because they did not design a good structure for how content can be how content can be produced and analyzed in the web here. So basically, it was just about creating front end, back end, and all of that. That's what most people are concerned. But the semantic web looks beyond just front end and back end. It also looks at making sure that behind the web there is actually some important information, so that, for example, when you use a search engine and you search for anything, let's say, for example, I search for a good example. Let me just prominent UFU alumni. Okay, Rural State University. I think it's better at Rural State Technical. Yeah. All right. Which is UFU? Yeah. Basically, for example, I search for UFU, like the OOP, like the old name. Yeah. And it gives me information that headquarters in Yekaterinburg, founded in this. Where did this information? Google does not type it by themselves. It's actually dynamically retrieved because there's some content available in Wikipedia posts and other sources. So if I click on this, for example, I'm able to see other universities here. How does it know that when I search for Ural State Technical University, I see this Ural Federal University. I click on it, it gives me notable alumni. Exactly, this is what I'm looking for. So we see these people. Google does not type this information, but thanks to the concept of the semantic web, we're able to have access to some of this information that these people are alumni of UFU. How is that possible? Resources from LinkedIn, resources from Wikipedia, all gathered together dynamically to create this information. Yeah, and we can know like popular people who are like notable alumni of UFU, for example, through this the semantic web. So let's go back right here. And you see, so the information presented here that the current rector is Victor Koksharo. How do we know? And even Google is asking us if it's helpful. All this information, like the number of enrollments and stuff like that, it can be updated, but then it's dynamically generated from articles online and stuff like that. Yeah. So Google is able to extract this information or crawl this information thanks to the concept of the semantic web. So with the semantic web, we have what we call a shared ontology. Yeah, usually, basically, there is a structure behind the data that is being stored. So, for example, when articles are being prepared on, let's say, let's look at UFU's website, for example. If we inspect the web itself, we are going to see maybe some interesting information. So most of the time, the information that is stored in this head of the web is actually crawled, yeah, and so it's actually a very good thing to do to make sure that you are putting some data inside of the website, not just text on a page or photos, but then there's some valuable data that can be connected to these platforms here so that Google can have access to it, Yandex can have access to it. Yeah, so the semantic web has that concept here, whereby the web is not just web pages, but then web pages can contain information or data that can be extracted and linked and connected. So we have the concept of the linked web. Basically, there's link between web pages or link between data on websites here. That's why we see this information and stuff available to us. Classically, it's not easy to find this. For example, universities in Russia. Let me just see. It's going to give me this information. It tells me information about Russia. Okay, a capital is this and that and that. Like this information, where does it get it from? So it's all dynamically generated from these sources here. So all these places come, and then I click on notable alumni, and it gives me more information. This is just a simple example, but then there are more ways of, there are more examples of this. So that is the Web 3.0, but there's another component of the Web 3.0, which is not just about shared resources, but also about AI. For example, AI is also another component of Web 3.0. We have, I'm not going to talk about all of these things. We also talk about the concept of decentralization of data. Also, digital identities, another important component of Web 3.0, like biometric data for data access. Also, the metaverse, we're going to look at that, 3D graphics. Now, blockchain is another important component of Web 3.0, which we are going to look at also. All right, so very important a very important technology we also have to take a look at is cloud computing. Yeah, very essential component, and I'm sure everybody has an idea of cloud computing. So that is how today we are able to have online lectures on Moodle and stuff like that, because there's a cloud, there's software sitting on the cloud. Companies don't have to buy data centers, because previously you have to own a data center, like a big data center somewhere with all these servers and all of that here. But how much does it cost to have a server? It's quite expensive. So why don't you go to maybe, for example, cloud.ru, interesting company. Yeah, a company like cloud.ru. It's a good example of a cloud-based provider, cloud computing provider. Yandex has their own cloud services which they provide. You can see Yandex Cloud Console and stuff like that. We have, so for example, I can set up different cloud services on Yandex. I don't need to buy a physical device and all of that here. So I'll come back to that. Cloud computing, I mean, we know most of the time, classically, a company has to manage all these aspects of any service or of their business. It means that you have to have people who are going to manage the hardware, the software, and the security, because when you have a data center or a server room, you need some level of high security. You need also AC or air condition so that you keep the temperature of the room cold, stuff like that. Yeah. So all these things, it's a lot of cost for some of these companies. So why do they have to do that? So thanks to cloud computing models today, now companies can decide what is good for them. So the first one is IaaS, that's infrastructure as a service, which means that you manage the application, the data, the runtime, the middleware, the OS, but then you buy like virtual cloud. All right, so yeah, I thought that I had a message on the chat. So you manage you manage this component, and then the cloud provider is going to manage these components. That is the network, the server. So basically like a virtual machine managed by the cloud provider, and you manage the software sitting on the system. Yeah. So the hardware problem is for the company that you are, the platform that you're going to use. So it's called IaaS. Now the second type is platform as a service, where they provide everything for you except you have to put your applications on the server on the server virtually. So everything is given, operating system given to you, everything set up. I think like for example, Amazon, AWS, and all these companies have. Okay, I'll mention that later on. Then we have software as a service. Now, basically, with software as a service, you don't manage any part. Everything is already prepared, and you like or SaaS, which is quite popular. We if you know about SaaS service, SaaS, basically everything is set up. All you have to do is just pay and you use the product. So it's a virtual product. A good example is Yandex Disk, Google Drive. You don't manage anything. You don't set any settings. Everything is managed by them. You pay for the service they give to you and you use it for cloud storage and all of that. Yeah, that's a good example. Now, for some of the popular ones, we all know about. Moment. Yeah. So some of the popular ones that we can mention, I've mentioned Yandex Cloud. Yandex Cloud has their own services, and we can actually take a look at maybe what we want. For example, if you just want compute, that means that you want a virtual machine with some disk and then some file storage and stuff like that. You can select the features you want, and then they are going to give you access to. I think you just do the calculation of how much it costs. Okay, you select the capacity you want, you create the resource, and then they give you the bill of how much it costs to run such a cloud. Yeah, I think I have one running. I actually didn't turn it off yet. I have an active one. I have to. Usually, it's a good practice would be to switch it off if you are not using the resource, because the more as time goes, you are going to be charged for every month or every day. So there's like a billing service here. If you can take, I just want to see. Yeah, I don't have a billing account for this one, but you can take a good look at it. I don't know if any of you use Yandex Cloud services, if it's quite popular. Yeah. Then we have Google Cloud. Google Cloud, which is sorry, the most popular one here. One of the most popular ones here. Personally, I don't use it, so I won't be able to say much about it, but I'm sure some of you have access to it. Yeah. Then we have AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. And Amazon Web Services is an interesting one because with AWS, Amazon has good resources thanks to their shipping and like delivery, that all those things. It makes it easy for them to manage such a business. So the good thing, a lot of platforms, a lot of tools actually work on Amazon AWS. A lot of websites and web apps. Most people like to run it on AWS. And if I can see their pricing, just have a picture, an idea about their pricing system. So when it comes to cloud computing, you have to understand that the pricing, if the pricing works for you, because for example, if it costs you a lot of money to have a data center or a server like this, for example, then it's better to rather go in for something like this because every month you are going to spend less. Yeah, and just to have an idea of the kind of the pricing, depending on the kind of task you're going to do. Actually, they've made it that easy. They for example, if it's compute, because most people will need some compute if you know about these virtual cloud services. So they give you the pricing plan and the amount. See on-demand pricing. Yeah. So you actually have to read to understand how it is. So for example, this is the total pricing of the network and like the bandwidth, also the pricing $0 per per gigabyte, and then basically they price you sometimes on your first you don't pay anything. After that, so your bill might increase over time. That's how some of these platforms work. It's an interesting and strange one, and also depending on the location you want to host your server. So you can decide to choose any of the servers. You realize some server locations are cheaper. Why? Because probably in those places maybe there's like lower tax or something like that. Yeah. So they don't have to pay. You don't have to pay that much. So we have all these services. So you look at all these things. Then you can calculate your cost involved. And then if you are interested in that, you go in for that. You calculate the cost of how much you want. So let's say we want okay, like region. Uh, you have to configure whatever you want. Let's say what kind of service you want. So I just want to compute EC2. Just yeah. So configure. Select some configurations and stuff like that. When I set everything I need, it will tell me that I'm gonna pay $1.53 a month. But that's not all. Most times there are some hidden costs. There are some hidden operational costs that you have to also take note of. So you have to be careful with some of these things. How many? Like for 3 years, okay. Payments, you pay partially. Um, all these things you have to select. Other things that are important. Uh, Additional cost and all that. So you see your sum. If you want this, you go for it. So sometimes you might pay like $10 a month or like 1,000 rubles a month and stuff like that. So the AWS is one. Microsoft Azure is also one. I'm sure you've heard of Microsoft Azure. Yeah. Also, unfortunately, we don't have access again because every student used to have access to Microsoft Azure with your UFU account. You can try to sign in and see if it's going to work. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not interested. Yeah. But yeah, with your student account, you can try to log in if you want, if you have the chance, to the portal.azure.com with your UFO account, student account. You should be able to have access to it, and then enable the student for 1 year. You get $200 free credits on Azure products. But I don't know if we still have the same access now as we had. There are some student benefits here you can explore, and you can create some resources you need to use. But you have to make sure that you have only $200. A lot of people also prefer Azure because it looks easy to manage as compared to AWS. AWS is too like disintegrated. Everything is too like broken down into small pieces. So a lot of people prefer this one. So some people just want a virtual machine that has, let's say, because I don't have any subscription, I can't create. But you can create a virtual machine, let's say with maybe 200 gigabytes RAM, because you want to do some AI or machine learning task or something like that. Yeah, that you don't have access to. Yeah, so you can create a special virtual machine or for different tasks. As you can see. So there are different types of the cloud models that you can use depending on your business use or business use case. So these are very important aspects. Now, for here in Russia, I think it would be good to check out cloud.ru, and you can see how they also have a similar concept like Amazon's EC, like Elastic Cloud Server. So you select the parameters you want, you select the kind of storage that you want, if you think you want more than that, and then how much on the disk, and you get this your amount per month. So you have if you want internet access for your cloud, then you're going to pay more than that, yeah, because for security reasons, if you want internet access to your virtual machine, it means that you are going to actually have to have extra security or extra security layer in the cloud. So these are some interesting tools you could take a look at and play with. Yeah, cloud.guru, very interesting one. Also, I'm going to share it in the chat. Yeah, I'm not a marketing manager for them, but I'm just giving you like the Russian example or firms that do that for different kind of tasks. Okay, now let's go forward. So cloud computing, very important aspect of that. Now, another also interesting topic that you have to look at when it comes to modern technology is fintech. And when we say fintech, we are basically talking about finance and technology, so financial technology. Very important aspect. Another important innovation in business that is very relevant, yeah, because some of you might have interest in this aspect, yeah. So fintech it's a blanket statement or a blanket term, like it's a general term for describing technologies that affect the financial service industry. Why? Because the current customer experience is old school or outdated, as we would say. It's old school because we as users or customers, we expect financial services to be mobile, personalized or customizable, and also 24 hours accessibility. We need that level because classically, if you bank with a bank like Sberbank in the office, they close at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Yeah, closed. So what if you have to make some emergency money, like you have to buy something, shop, or you need money, you need cash? How do you do that? So thankfully, the fintech industry is one of the important aspects that has helped a lot. And when we talk about fintech, financial technology, we can look at different angles or different aspects of fintech. For example, in crowdfunding, and sorry, I didn't put a Russian translation for crowdfunding here, but crowdfunding platforms, a good example like Patreon, GoFundMe, Kickstarter, these platforms help with, they're outside of the traditional banking system, and they help with the ability for people to make, let's say, support a project or make some donations or whatever. So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I'm gonna, let me close this. Yeah, I'm gonna go to Kickstarter. Yeah, all right. So Kickstarter, if anybody has heard about Kickstarter before, then here's your, yeah. So Kickstarter is an interesting project, actually, interesting platform, and this is the amount of money that they've raised so far. So let's say you are a small business, you are in like bachelor's or magistratura, like masters, and you have a business idea. You need money. You need some money to support your business idea. Where do you go to get money? Thankfully, a platform that is online like Kickstarter, it will be, because it might be difficult to get a grant from the government or get some funding from some like Skullcover or something like that. Some people will decide to go to Kickstarter, put their idea out there, and let people support it. Now, let me just give you an idea of Kickstarter project. So, I think because we're in technology, let's look at technology project. Yeah. So people come with an interesting idea, like product design. Maybe it's product design related, or let me see. I need something that's a software app related. Yeah, apps. So an app related idea. So let's say this app is for medical, like nutrition, like support. Yeah, and you set up a goal. So this person's goal is this amount of money, $108,000 goal, and it was set up 29 days ago, and so far only $82 has been pledged. So people, you can support a project. So I can back this project by giving some money or investing into a project. So this is one way of investing into a project. So this is a fintech solution whereby these people don't need to go to the bank for any money, but then they can get funding by individuals who want to support them. An interesting one is also Kiva. I'm going to mention Kiva. Interesting one. It's a credit. It's a microfinance company. And I say microfinance. I don't know if it's. I think it might be the same term in Russian. Yeah. So it's a microfinance company that helps people who have business ideas anywhere in the world. And usually, especially people in agriculture or farming. Yes. Say you want to have a business or something like that. Let me see if I can look at it. Yeah. So these people want to have a business idea. They need to start a business. So what you can do is that you support the business, and you get paid back for supporting the business after a certain time. So people put their business ideas there, and then it helps. Mostly in farming, there are lots of use cases in farming and agriculture. Yes, people have business ideas. For example, let's look at this one. Yeah. So some people they write all the information about it, and there's also the updates. So all this information is actually verified information because it's not fake. It can be. They have to check and make sure, do a lot of background checks. So that's the problem. That's one of the challenges with finance stuff. Yeah. So they have to do a lot of background checks to make sure that it's original or authentic, legal companies. Yeah. So you support the company by giving us by you support the idea by giving a certain amount of money, and then after that, yeah, after some time they're going to pay back when it's like after some time, yeah, they'll give you the payback amount. Yeah. So this basically how it works. These are some some of the ideas here. You can look at the comments and see and try to understand if you should support the business. And so yeah, these are how these are some of the platforms. So fintech, when it comes to crowdfunding, I think the word is yeah in Russian crowdfunding. Yeah, same word. Yeah, crowdfunding. Yeah. So these are important platforms here. Kickstarter, Kiva, and stuff like that. Yeah, help people who want to maybe build some idea. For example, 3D printing idea or something like that, or software. Yeah, or like wearable technology. This is the idea they have. You have to verify if you feel like you can back this project. So this was their goal. For example, this project, this is the goal, $10,000. But then people have given 54,000, which is massive. It's like a lot of money. Yeah. So why? Because what they have to present their business idea.
Boom. Sure.
All
Navigating.
the branding actually helps. All the branding helps with identifying whether this is a good business to invest in. Yeah. So the fintech industry is massive now. It's a bit bigger than previously. Yeah. Other examples are mobile payments, which we know about. For example, Kiwi, like Yandex, yeah, Yo Money or something like that. Yo Money, yeah, I don't know. And Kiwi and all these apps here. These are examples for mobile payments and stuff like that. Cryptocurrency, blockchain, we'll look at it. Insurance also, we have Tinkoff Investita, like for trading and stuff like that. And budgeting apps, all these come together. Now, the fintech market growth projections, actually, according to research, this is the targeted growth of the fintech market. So why is this? Because every day there's an amount of millions of dollars of transactions that are done every day. Every day, people are sending money, people are um, transferring money, people are shopping online, e-commerce, everything. So the industry is a very big one, and there's a lot of promising. I mean, for fintech, it's not going to die because it's one area where people will always be making transactions. People will always be buying. People will always be selling products. So that's how it is. Now, with the fintech industry, on one of the big challenges is the fact that there is the concept of an intermediary bank. Why? Because money comes from this bank. Let's say I'm sending money from, I'm in Kazakhstan. I'm sending money to somebody in Russia. It has to go from my bank to another middle bank, like a middleman bank or intermediary bank, before it usually sometimes transferred to another intermediary bank before it in Russia, before it like a representative bank, basically. And sometimes these challenges are too much. Yeah, and the charges and all, that's how come you send money and then there's some extra charges, transfer costs and transfer fees and stuff like that. So these are some of the challenges that are faced, because of the middleman. And then for such reasons is why concept like cryptocurrency want to eliminate this so that it can just be from one person to the other, without a middleman. Like no, we don't need an intermediary, but rather just to transfer directly. So this is what fintech also is trying to do to challenge this. So taking a look at this, we can see classically payments are done from one corresponding bank to another bank using protocols like SWIFT. And if you know about SWIFT, you know that, for example, in Russia, now SWIFT does not work because of sanctions. Yeah, and the SWIFT service is basically one of the important aspects of banking, international banking. So other ways of actually making making it possible or easy is we look at say for example local banks, because you look at it for as a customer, you have to use a service provider like PayPal, Kiwi, any of these platforms, TransferWise or Wise, any of these platforms. Yeah, you can either use it like an agent to transfer the money from Western Union or MoneyGram or Ria, all these platforms, to another person, or you can use PayPal to transfer using a service provider. It goes to another service provider before they receive it, or local bank transfer and then uses Ripple protocol and other protocols in the background there. But some people want to eliminate all of this so that we have only the customer to the other end customer using simple platforms like Bitcoin and all of that. Yeah. So the fintech industry is actually trying to improve what we call cross-border payments. Yeah. So cross-border payments is an important aspect here because you're transferring money from different. So there's a lot of business cases and a lot of innovative solutions. But of course, one of the biggest challenges here is regulations and the legal components in every country, because let's say Russia, Kazakhstan have different legal things, but maybe they have a document that like a general document that they can all make reference to and stuff like that. But then usually there's some challenges, different challenges in different countries. So it's one of the innovative areas that you can build ideas upon. Yeah. So continuing from the payment solution, financial payment solution, we have credit card, debit card. Usually you have what we call a payment gateway, and this gateway is through an API. Yeah. Basically, the gateway is what helps the transaction. So the gateway would carry information in the form of JSON data that carries information through the platform, the online platforms here. And eventually you are going to get like notifications. So building a fintech solution is actually it's a combination of different aspects here. You need SMS, for example. We see like smart phone notifications, email notifications, web notifications. All of them must be taken care of. Also, feedback to the bank. You have to take care of how the money is going to be taken from the bank and transferred to another account, the cost involved and all of that. So sometimes you have to partner. Now, taking a look at the fintech world, in the innovation side, sorry, the image is not so perfect, not so clear. But yeah, in all the continents, there are different interesting fintech solutions. Of course, these are not all the solutions, but I'm going to show you some of the popular ones, which we all know. A good one like PayPal is quite popular, and then there's also in America they have Cash App and stuff like that. Chipper. You only go to like Nigeria, for example, there's Flutterwave, very interesting platform. Yeah. And then in South Africa, they also have Chipper. Then when you go to like Brazil, they have some interesting apps and interesting platforms. And in Europe, there's Stripe. Stripe is also another interesting one. I'm going to just show you some of them. Then we have Revolut, very very interesting one in the UK, and Wise. Wise is also another one. I think it's better for me to show you the website rather. Then China, we have like the Alipay and stuff like that. In Korea, they also have their own apps. In Russia, there is Tinkoff, as we can see over here. So Tinkoff Bank has like interesting fintech solutions. One of them, yeah. Let me select this. All right. So just giving you information from the Russian Central Bank here. So the Bank of Russia, like here. central bank also has some information about the fintech because in 2018 the Bank of Russia approved a guideline for financial technology development for 2018 to 2020. So they built a guideline that is going to help a lot of companies build upon. And it's one of the websites you can check. The English website, of course, the Russian information. The Russian site has more information, but the English site also gives a lot of information. And they're always putting new reports on what is new in the fintech world. That is, for those who are interested in reading the English content here, you're going to find a lot of information. For example, the digital ruble. It's I don't know when it's going to start, but then there are some 13 banks that have been targeted for this digital ruble project here. So it's an interesting thing to also look at. Yeah. And when it comes to news about financial stuff, you can check the Central Bank of Russia, the English site. You can look at the legal stuff. You can look at the new innovative ideas that they are pushing and what is being tested out there. Yeah. In some reports. Also, right here, very good. Yeah. So Andreessen Horowitz. If you know Andreessen Horowitz, maybe some of you might not know about it, but it's a I'll call it like a venture capital. Yeah, that supports startups. So Andreessen Horowitz also put up this global payments map. Yeah. Of course, there's more, but then because they realize that fintech is the fuel of or it's like the benzene of the global payment system. Yeah, fintech solutions, the cross-border payments, instant payments, open banking advances here. So a lot of these platforms are actually helping with. Unfortunately, I think because of the sanctions, they didn't do a report on. But it's just a small report on some countries and the popular platforms you are going to come across. Yeah. So I'm going to mention, for example, we have Klarna, which is from Sweden. Interesting one. There's also Wise. If you know about Wise, Wise also another one here. Sorry, Russia is blocked. Yeah, there's Revolut. Yeah, Revolut also another interesting one. I hope we are not blocked. Yeah, interesting platform, fintech platform, really, really massive. There's also Kiwi. I mean, we know Kiwi, so if you know Kiwi in Russia, yeah, you know, like the Kiwi platform. Yeah, that's in Russia. And then there are other ones here. There's Stripe. I mentioned Stripe here. So Stripe is also another payment processing platform. So actually, with Stripe is interesting. With Stripe, for example, you can use their API in your website, your web service. Yeah. So you can open an account with Stripe and then integrate it with like your e-commerce website and all of that. Yeah, it's quite interesting. So yeah, the fintech industry is really a massive one. And one of the things you have to note when it comes to fintech, one of the most important parts is onboarding. That is registration of clients. That we call it onboarding. Yeah. And in onboarding, it's an important aspect, especially because you want to make sure that you are having the identity. Just the same way how banks work, they check your passport and create an account for you, or you check your documents. Same thing. Online platforms also a good security concept. It's what we call KYC, or know your customer. It's a very important aspect of these platforms here. So with fintech, the most important aspect is to make sure that KYC is done, or know your customer. So you have to keep know who the customer is, because every fintech company working in any country answers to the government. So they have to make sure, or the central bank of the country, they have to make sure that they are operating legally and operating by the law and by the rules of the country. Yeah, so KYC is an important aspect. So for example, identifying, like, you have to send a copy of your passport or some registration document to show that you are the person, and then they have to verify your identity. So KYC helps to minimize some risk fraud, or like some money laundering. Let me help with that in Russian here. Money laundering. Sorry, I'm typing in capital. Yeah. So it helps to prevent money laundering. Yeah, so basically to prevent it. To prevent money laundering because once you have the identity of the client, you are preventing all these kind of fake IDs. Of course, people can use AI to generate fake IDs also. That's another challenge. So maybe something you can think about as a research topic, AI in um, how to build AI models or think about some solutions for AI in um, when it comes to know your client or know your customer, KYC. So when it comes to KYC, we can talk about some of the technologies. Aside from your passport or ID, there are some like biometrics, fingerprints, attributes, voice. I think Sberbank has that feature for voice, yeah. And semantic analytics, for example, data on some financial documents. You have to upload some financial document maybe, or your accommodation document, where you live. Um, say some social biometrics like social media activities. It can check if you want to give them access to that. They're going to check for you. Yeah. So there are some examples here. Also ID on the blockchain just to track your information. All right. So with that, I'm going to finalize the class on blockchain. The next topic, then the final one, and then I'll let you know. Yeah. So the other information or the other innovative idea we can talk about is blockchain here because we can connect finance to blockchain. We can connect other things to blockchain here. Now, the first thing that people talk about when they hear blockchain is crypto. But blockchain is not just crypto. It's more than crypto. It's basically a kind of data storage system. Yeah. In English, we call it a distributed ledger. It's a distributed ledger. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a distributed ledger or a shared ledger. Yeah. That allows any participant in the business network to see the system of records. So basically, it's we can actually have public and private blockchains. Okay. So now blockchains basically helps to keep records of data. That's one of the main goals. But then in a more secure way, that's we can talk about the fact that it has an interesting concept of security. Yeah. So when it comes to blockchain for businesses, there are different aspects of blockchain for businesses. Number one is the fact that you have a shared ledger. It means that the data can be seen by all transactions are public within the company or outside of the company, depending on what you want. There's privacy aspect also. You can ensure some level of privacy. There's also validation to make sure that all parties or all individuals or all like executives, managers, whoever have to verify transactions before they're allowed. Yeah. And then smart contracts, which we'll look at, another interesting topic, is to there are some business terms that are embedded in transactions. So if you meet that if anybody meets that conditions, then you are given access. Now, blockchain use cases. We can talk about a letter of credit from a bank. Let's say you want to get some credit from a bank. It's like a long process. Yeah. Sometimes people can fake the document. So blockchain comes into the picture to prevent people from faking documents. Yeah, because it has a way of keeping track of all the information and all the data. Yeah. So when it comes to use cases of blockchain, let me zoom in right here. We can talk about many use cases. Government, Estonia, a good example, developed the first blockchain to manage international logistics, and together with traffic law labs and the Finnish government. So Estonia and Finland had a common blockchain for logistics and shipping. Yeah, we see two countries coming together to build a blockchain. Yeah, we also see identification in Switzerland for elections, like Vibor, I don't know, like for president or something like that. They have a blockchain for user identity, so voter identity. Yeah, mobile payments. Ripple is a good example. Japanese banks, quite used. Yeah. Insurance, AIG, American International Group for insurance. That's Strachowka, as you call it. Yeah. So it's a good use case in keeping records and then increasing transparency of the records. Uh, so many examples in shipping. Maersk, if you know Maersk, it's an interesting company. I could just Google it for you to see. So Maersk, yeah, it's a integrated like container logistics shipping company. Yeah, they well, you cannot really see anything much here, but they're in charge of, yeah, Maersk. They're in charge of all these containers and stuff like that most of the time. So they rent out containers for people to transport their goods. So in order for people not to steal these containers and stuff like that, they have to keep track of some of these things, because some of the containers actually have like fridges or halodinic, as you say. They contain some really special protective components inside. So in order to keep the containers safe here and to keep track of all the containers, Maersk is integrated a blockchain system so that they can keep track of every container and where it is around the world, so that they know they don't lose money, so that people don't steal the container. Yeah, so we can look at so many examples. Um, so blockchain is usually combined with some technology. A blockchain does not stand alone. It's combined with technology like RFID. We see RFID, for example. If you know about RFID, these RFID tags usually put in like clothes and stuff like that. These things, yeah, usually. Yeah, so we can these RFID tags can be put in any product or any, for example, in logistics or in um, warehouse management, like SCLAT, for example. You want to keep track of all of the objects you have here. Resource management, you put that in. In energy, we can combine blockchain technology. Yeah. So there are so many areas of blockchain and its application. Yeah. Now, blockchain technology itself, that's what we call blockchain networks. And these networks are basically, you can say like frameworks that have different plus and minuses. They all don't work the same. And they are all built for different layers of the blockchain, which I'm going to talk about. So these are examples of the blockchain networks, which are quite popular. But most of them are, a lot of them are cryptocurrency related. Yeah, and so there's Polygon, there's also the Wax blockchain, there's Binance Smart Chain, we have like Bitcoin itself, Polkadot, Stellar, Ripple, the blockchain, Litecoin, Tezos. All these blockchains are they're not just cryptocurrencies, but they're actually frameworks that you can use in as a layer for data storage or transfer of information or saving information, storing information. Yeah. Now, with the blockchain, there are layers. There are what we call there are layers of the blockchain. So we take just the same way we have any technology architecture. There are different layers of the technology. The first or the fundamental layer is actually the network layer, network and infrastructure layer. Then we have the data layer. We have the we have the hardware infrastructure layer actually, where we have the virtual machine. You have the containers. When we talk about containers, we are talking about if you know about Kubernetes. Kubernetes, it's a popular tool. I think it would be good to read about it here. Kubernetes, and then there's a Docker or Docker. So basically, a good way of storing, virtualizing your system. Yeah, basically, it's an interesting area also. So all the information, or all the network and all the infrastructure and the settings are actually virtualized. Yeah, down there. And then we have what we call the mining rigs, and the mining rigs are actually let me just say mining rig, not yeah. You can actually buy some of these. These are the mining rigs that are used in mining, in running, in keeping the blockchain alive here. So they consume a lot of power and a lot of electricity. Yeah, you can see, as you can see, there are different mining rigs around the world. There's interesting mining rig in, I think, Iceland. Yeah, you can watch the one on Iceland and the mining rigs that exist in Iceland. Very interesting one. Yeah. Uh, because it has like a lot of cold weather, so they're able to run these mining rigs there, right there, and so all these mining rigs control the blockchain transactions. Then we have the data layer, we have the network layer, we have the consensus layer, and the consensus layer have some protocols, consensus protocols. Now, maybe in another lesson, we have to look at blockchain as a whole. Yeah. Then we have the application layer. So some people can build for any of these layers. So there are different types of blockchains that work on different layers. And usually you hear something like L0 or L1, L2, L3. These are layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, the different layers of the blockchain. If some people build for L1, some people build for L2, some people build for L3, the application layer. Yeah. So not all blockchains are the same. Some blockchains work on different layers. Yeah. So that's how it is. Yeah. I think what I'm gonna do right here is maybe if there's any question you can ask me. If not, I can finalize it for today. Sorry about the time because I was waiting. I thought I was waiting in the wrong room. I didn't know that I was waiting in the wrong location for the class. Yeah. But yeah. So if there's any question you can ask me. If not, I can finalize it and then end it right here and give you any information you need later on. But what I'm gonna do, I think, yeah. Let me finish with blockchain introduction. Then I'll end the class in the next um, 10 minutes. Yeah, all right. So with respect to blockchain, as I said, for the different layers, development of the framework. So all the frameworks can work at different layers. So you realize that like we have blockchain networks like Ethereum, we have blockchains like Solana, we have blockchain networks like Binance or BNB, and then we have blockchains like Matic, we have blockchains like Mana and Uniswap and all of these things, Polkadot. Um, yeah, they all work at different levels, and it has its plus and minus, and they are built for that reason. So we talk about the concept of smart contract in blockchain now, or Omni contract, very important aspect. Smart contracts are basically code, some lines of code, and they execute automatically by themselves. Yeah. So the goal of these smart contracts is to make execution when there is an agreement, or when let's say two parties, for example, we can put a smart contract on Ozone or Avito, whereby if the product exists and then I have enough money in my bank account, as soon as I click buy, a smart contract is initiated. That's all. So because I meet the conditions, I have the money that is required, and then the the products are also available. The smart contract is initiated. Now, smart contract was first proposed in 1994 by Nick Szabo, and he's an American scientist, computer scientist, who invented virtual currency, BitGold, 1998. So this was 10 years before the invention of Bitcoin. And a lot of people think that Nick Szabo is actually Satoshi Nakamoto, because Satoshi Nakamoto is the person who who created Bitcoin, but nobody knows who Satoshi is. It's like a mystery character. Nobody knows who Satoshi is. Yeah, some people think it's a group of people. Some people think it's one person. Nobody knows who Satoshi is till today. And the use cases of the smart contracts at the moment are in anything that has to do with contracts, like real estate, like house, buying a house or apartment or stuff like that. You can use smart contracts. Insurance also, we can use smart contracts. In supply chain, smart contracts. In digital identification, smart contracts work. So basically, what happens is that when um, you you meet the conditions of the seller as a buyer. It's a piece of code. So once you meet the conditions, you agree, everything is automated. You receive the product, they receive the money, and everybody goes their way. And you receive the document that shows that you own the product, like a contract document signed. Yeah. There's a difference between a traditional contract and a smart contract. Is that with a traditional contract, sometimes you have like a middleman. There's a middleman sometimes in the middle. But in a smart contract, it's just a blockchain, computer code, and some security. So when you meet the conditions of the contract, the results of the contract are given to you, and then the seller gets their money in the form of a cryptocurrency or real money. Yeah. So that's how it works. Now, in blockchains, we have different types of blockchain solutions. One of them is called dApps, or decentralized apps. Yeah, they are decentralized apps are basically apps that look like this. So we have like usually classically we have apps that have one cloud and then everybody connects to them. But in decentralized apps, we can have a different approach to that. Basically, a dApp is an application that enables users to interact directly with a blockchain, storing files and playing a blockchain-based game. So everybody is part of the app, basically. The app is a combination of all the users. Yeah. There is the logic of the app, but also there's the fact that once you join the app, you become part of the blockchain. Yeah. So dApps, decentralized apps, they are digital platforms or applications or programs that run on a blockchain or on a P2P network of computers instead of a single computer. Yeah, and there's no single authority usually. That's how it works. So there are different examples of dApps you can see. I can show you some examples that I know of here. If you want to know more about dApps, you can check dappradar.com. You see all the apps, all the decentralized apps that exist. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go there. Yeah. So dApps, in just some information in Russian that might help. Yeah. Financial, semi-financial. We have other apps here. At the moment, most of the blockchain solutions are related to finance. That is why a lot of people cannot really see the use case outside of financial solutions. Now, so one of the DeFi also, you hear the word DeFi, like decentralized finance. Decentralized finance. That's one. I talked about the fact that in fintech, you want to eliminate the middleman, yeah, so that you make transactions smoother. And this is why, for example, I showed you that the Central Bank of Russia, let me open it back. Yeah, it's looking at the digital ruble because they have to realize that, well, they want to make things quite easy and simple. So for B2B transactions, there will be like a digital ruble transfer. So we see they're going to have a blockchain. It could be that the Central Bank of Russia will have their blockchain that everybody can use and join that blockchain and have access to it. Yeah, any developer can have access to it. So when we talk about DeFi, there are some top 15 DeFi like applications here. And the term DeFi actually it was coined in 2018, just a few years ago. It was from a Telegram chat that somebody brought the idea, decentralized finance. That's when a group of software developers or entrepreneurs are trying to decide what to call their movement, basically how it came about here. And these are a number of DeFis that you can come across. Uniswap, I'm going to just open the site for you just to show you Uniswap. Yeah, interesting one. It's a DeFi app, quite popular. And well, you have to launch the app and then you need a crypto wallet before you can have access to it. And when you have access to it, you can start checking and seeing what is possible. So you realize that a lot of cryptocurrencies are connected to this, so that they can be able to transfer money on it. Now it's still the crypto world is still kind of discovering itself here. It's still under some discovery, self-discovery. We have digital exchanges, DEXs, yeah, and this they are like platforms for exchanging of money. Yeah. So let's say converting from one, basically like if you want to convert from dollar to ruble or convert from one currency to another. Same thing with converting from one cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency on the blockchain. We use DEXs or DEX. So these decentralized exchanges, yeah, they help to remove the middleman and then let people convert. It's a P2P marketplace where you can convert money. There's no central authority, but there are some rules that govern the transaction. Yeah, all right. And the I think the final one is NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which are an interesting concept also in the blockchain world. Yeah, they are still being discovered because nobody really knows the use case apart from the fact that the price goes up, it goes down. So these are digital artworks, basically, not just artwork, but they are digital art that usually have an owner behind it, a set of ownership here. So it means that when you buy that product on digitally, you own that product, and the price can increase or can decrease. Now, aside from that, people are trying to use that use cases of NFTs in like ticket sales, in games, in fashion, and so we can see there are some use cases that have popped up over time. Magic Eden, I could mention some of them, like NFTs and stuff like that. And this is the price they go for. And sometimes when you buy an NFT, it means that you are not just buying an artwork, but then you are having access. It's like a discount card or something like that. So you can make an NFT discount card actually. Yeah. There are gaming NFTs and stuff like that. Yeah. For example, you play some game. It's like card games. Basically, you're gonna play some games. You buy the NFT. The NFT represents components in the game. Yeah. So there are quite a number of use cases of NFTs. Apart from digital art, which sorry, I should have shown you this. Yeah. Which is OpenSea is one of the popular ones. I haven't checked it in a while, so I don't know the state of OpenSea. Um, whilst it's loading. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. I think it does not. Yeah, I have to open it in a different way. Yeah. All right. So whilst it's opening, OpenSea.io. Yeah. I don't know if we have access in Russia. Yeah, but it's one of the popular ones here, and you find a lot of artworks. People put their art there, and they sell it and stuff like that. So it's you create art, you sell it, somebody buys it and stuff like that. Yeah. That's so the use cases are still being discovered because people don't really know what else can we use the blockchain for. So maybe you can think around that if you have interest in that. Then we have the metaverse also, the final one, which is also another very, very relevant component of the blockchain. Yeah, and a lot of people are looking into the metaverse, digital identities. I think even recently, yeah, the metaverse was talked about. Like Mark Zuckerberg and co want to have these all digital identities and stuff like that. I think you can talk about Decentraland, an interesting game which is in the metaverse. It's like a game and a world altogether. People can host events and stuff like that in the metaverse. I think people even hosted like a show. You can host a show in the metaverse. People buy products in the metaverse. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting phenomena. Yeah, you can buy land, real land in the metaverse, and then rent it and stuff like that. So this is where technology is going. We have Web 3.0 games in the metaverse and all of that. So people are looking into these things now. So opportunities in the metaverse now and in the future. People are still thinking about how can we use it. Yeah. So these are innovations that you can think about and read about. Finally, we're going to look at the last one, which is DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And this is a type of it's under blockchain also. It's the concept is in the name. Basically, You have people who you are going to. It's a legal structure that has no central authority, where each of the members have a common goal that acts in the interest of the entity. Let's say a DAO is basically, say, if we are 10 people, whoever owns shares, like the most shares, are the ones who make the decision. So we vote. So you have voting rights. Basically, you have voting rights to make some decisions. So it's basically like whoever has the most cryptocurrency, crypto is the one who is going to make the decision, something like that here. Or you have more votes than other people and stuff like that here. So it's an idea that people have been looking into. Yeah. So that's DAOs, and in Russian yeah, information on DAOs. So decentralized autonomous organizations. Yeah. Another interesting topic that people are looking into, and these are innovations in business that can be brought. Yeah, if you're able to build a good use case for it, it will be really interesting. Yeah, so I would end the class here, and if you have any questions, you can ask me. If not, um, we can call it a day, and um, I will see you. And what for next week, I'll have to give information to your group leader. Yeah. So whatever information I have, I'll give you. But yeah. So my mistake was this. Actually, I didn't check that I have to select this one here because I selected this instead. Yeah. So I was in a wrong room waiting for you guys. Apparently, it was supposed to be here. So yeah. Thank you for correcting me. All right. So that'll be all for today's class, and have a good weekend. I'll see you later. All right.